Hello and welcome. I'm Cameron Brio from Power Team Realty, and you are a savvy investor, or you will be when this video is done. Today, I'm going to highlight some of the recent property sales in the multifamily world in the Greater Moncton area, and we're going to be looking at the 2 to 4 unit as well as the 5 plus. And this is sales over the last 45 days or so. I will admit the real estate market in our territory, specifically geared for the investment side, has been a little bit slow this summer, obviously, with the rising interest rates and some uncertainty in markets across Canada. Some investors have pumped the brakes and are in a wait and see holding pattern. So, today we're going to look at the properties that have sold. We're going to look at the days on market. If you do have specific questions, if you see a property, feel free to shoot me an email. It's Cameron@powerteam.ca. I'll be more than happy to send you the financials and you can break it down, figure out the cap rate and how it pertains to your investing strategy. Today, high level, 50,000 foot view, simply price, days on market, looking at the area, few quick photos as we buzz through. But again, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them one-on-one. If you are a client of mine, you know that I do these videos. If you have a grouping of properties or a strategy you're trying to execute, whether it's off market or on, I like interfacing over Zoom. You can see it, I can see it. I can even record it and send it to you. So if you do have any questions, more than happy to help. Even if you're not a client and you have questions about the area, certainly more than happy to assist you. So let's dive in. We're looking at the 2 to 4 unit in the Greater Moncton area. And a lot of these properties have been on market for about 45 to 50 days. There are a few that have been on shorter, and I will point out. So under the screen, as you can see, as I hover over the property, it is giving us a box around, so you can see proximity and where it is. If you are not aware of the Moncton area, we are about 22 kilometers end to end. We have Moncton on the top side, Dieppe on the right side, where the airport is, and Riverview just down below. And these three communities make up the Greater Moncton area. As I zoom out, you will see that Shediac and the Northumberland Strait and Ocean are there. So New Brunswick is a very big territory, very big province. Greater Moncton area is this lower section where I'm circling the cursor here. As a realtor in New Brunswick, I do cover the entire area. However, my main focus is the Greater Moncton area and a little bit in St. John and Fredericton. So diving back in here, we're looking at a property. It sold for $450,000, $1,000 over asking. It was on market for 45 days. This is a cute little triplex in Central Dieppe that sold for its listed price at $449,000. These properties over the years would be either added on to. So if you bought it as a duplex, there's a good chance you could change it into a triplex. If you're not aware, if a street already has a certain type of zoning, if it is a single family dwelling and there is, let's say, a duplex or even a semi-detached, there is a chance that you can go to the city and get a variance. If it is a straight single family area, it would be challenging to become a multi-unit dwelling. However, if you do have specific questions, the City of Moncton Planning Department would be more than happy to send you a how-to guide. It is available online, a little bit challenging to get. If you can't get a hold of them on the phone or you can't find it online, feel free to shoot me a line and I can send it to you. And that's where the duplex conversions come into play. So properties like this, obviously it has been converted. And then this particular property on Robinson would have been a single family home at one point, and perhaps in the 70s or maybe even 80s, it was converted over, which is a really good opportunity that a lot of investors are looking for. Is it a duplex? Can I make it into a triplex? This particular property on Robinson, it was on the market for about 40 days and it sold for $10,000 below the listed price. This property on High Street is a triplex, and depending on what street in this area, you do see these as duplex or even 4 unit properties. A 4 unit property would need to have an extended backyard, and you would have to add quite an infrastructure of stairs in the back, kind of like they've done here, to add the appropriate entry and exit points that you'd need for your fire codes. So that is something to consider. If you are a new investor and you are looking to build on your strategy and understand what people are doing here for value add, great questions to ask. Feel free to make a list and reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions and point you in the right directions, talk to some contractors on what some of those expenses would be. So these last few properties we've been looking at are in Central Moncton. As you can see, the black box is lighting up. Going through the list here, we've got some classic purpose-built triplex. These are two great compares. You can see that there's about $100,000 difference. When you do dive into these particular properties, you will note that there's a difference in the renovated state. This particular property has a garage that's double width, as does the other property. It's been updated at some point, but certainly not to the level in comparison to the other property. This property had some major kitchen work that was done. And again, a garage and a backup generator. So it appears this unit had a major overhaul. Adding laundry to these purpose-built triplex is an amazing value add. It makes the units completely self-contained. Typically, you can keep a tenant for longer if they have all the amenities within the building, more so if it's even in the suite. This is a purpose-built 4-unit, the Beechwood area, so just below the Trans-Canada between Elmwood and McLaughlin. This has popped up for sale a few times over the last couple of years. A purpose-built duplex or semi-detached if you're buying each side singularly. This one did sell over asking price within 21 days. This one was a June listing. So this did go into multiple offers. This is in a A-class neighborhood in Moncton North, as you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen. These typically rent for 16 to 2100, depending on what is included. In most cases on that lower end, the tenant is taking care of the snow and the lawn, and great tenant, fairly good price, and they're able to make these properties their home, and they'll turn it into a long-term vision that they have, which is really nice to see that unfold. And very similar, this would be an up and down style duplex. It's kind of tough to tell from these photos, but these often come up as single family raised ranch. And what people are doing, again, like I said earlier, if the area has the appropriate zoning, which this area does off of Ivy Road, you can apply for a variance, get all the appropriate permits, bring the house up to code that it's requiring of you, and you can have a legal duplex, which is nice. So the average on market for these 2-unit properties is in around 45 days. 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit. If you wanted to see a monthly email list of the solds, feel free to ask me, and I'd be more than happy to set that up for you. And it will give you a good indication of what's selling each month, and you can kind of track and trend and see what fits into your investment strategy. So flipping over here, we have just a few listings. So this is 5+ units. And this is a purpose-built 9-unit as a row home development or town home. There's a few different names that float around. So this was based on plans, and the development was scheduled for this summer. This is in Central Dieppe. They typically will rent for around $2,000 per month per unit, and the tenant would take care of their snow. Depending on who the owner is, a lot of owners will decide just to do the grass themselves so it has a uniform look. They know that it's done, they know that it's clean. This was a 5-unit building in downtown Moncton. It was on market for 66 days. It was listed at $399 and it sold for $330. Just 2 photos to share today. All right, and this is a purpose-built property. with an extra basement unit. Investors are going for because it is brick, it is purpose built, does allow a lot of flexibility. The basement unit typically is a one bedroom or a bachelor, depending on how big the mechanical room is in behind or the laundry room. So um, a lot of investors have bought these units and updated them to bring laundry into the suites. And what it allows them to do is to make a one bedroom instead of a bachelor downstairs, which is a great value add. So listed at 799, sold for 725, and it was about 60 days on market. All right, one PID on McLaughlin Road, just by the university. So listed for 1.35 and sold for 1.3 in 111 days. As I had mentioned before, a lot of the properties that are either on market currently without offers or that have been withdrawn, they have been listed at a price that is so high when you compare the income to it that the cap rate simply doesn't make sense. So obviously, when you are investing, the income and expense have to make sense for the deal. Now, each investor has their own strategy. Moncton historically for properties that are on a larger scale from 4 to, let's say, 12 units, a 5% cap rate has made sense. Now, with a lot of people that have been buying, they've been buying properties that have been underutilized, where renovations would need to be done. So even if the property was being sold at a lower price point, they know that they could either raise the rent because there is some vacancies and there's some renovations that they can do, or they buy the property and their long-term strategy is to simply keep the tenants that are in the building. The building has been renovated and the income and expense make total sense for them to just continue on with the strategy that's been in play. However, the properties that have been on market right now, a lot of those vendors have a wrong impression of what price they can get. And they're realizing that as the months go by, the buyers aren't coming. And the feedback that's coming is that the price is too high. Um, your income does not cover all of the expenses once I buy it and put a mortgage on it. And at that point, you're obviously not investing, you're gambling. And investors now obviously are very respectful of tenants that are in play and have long-term leases, right? So in the province of New Brunswick, in March of this year, we had a 3.8% rent cap that was implemented. A lot of investors are familiar with this if they're investing across Canada or the US. Municipalities, cities, towns, provinces have put this into play. And what it does is it protects the tenant, which is amazing. However, what doesn't happen is the information on the selling side doesn't always get fully understood. They see something in the market and they think that price per door, price per foot, all of those things remain equal for what they have. And what that's doing is it's creating properties that are sitting on the market and they won't be sold. So a lot of investors right now are making offers that make sense on the deal that's at hand, understanding that tenants are going to remain. There's a long-term strategy at play, and that they want to write an offer that's respectful enough that would have the potential seller work with them. So I know this was a lot of information just kind of thrown out here. The Moncton market certainly is still vibrant. Prices are relatively strong, right? When you're looking at all the properties that we considered from 2 to multiple units. We do have the price point that is trending somewhat flat. However, on multifamily properties, it's really deal by deal. So looking at a price and the sale price without really seeing the income and expense is very challenging. Just know that days on market are increasing and that a lot of investors are making offers for what makes sense for their specific strategy. And in most cases, they're outlining it to the vendor just so that they're aware that there are some shortcomings in the marketing strategy on this. If you have any specific questions, again, please feel free to reach out, Cameron@powerteam.ca. I'm going to keep these videos rolling monthly. And if you want to join the email list, please let me know. Thanks and have a great day.